Hi, I'm Patrick Delahanty, and I'm here to tell the story of Providence Anime Conference. On March 8th, 2007, I proposed the idea for Providence Anime Conference to the New England Anime Society. Some of my friends and other Anime Boston staffers, we felt like there was a need for a convention like this where older attendees could hang out with other people that had, they had kind of felt that cons had gotten too young, and that there were the screaming fangirls and the smelly fanboys, the immature behavior, playing duck, duck, goose in the hallways, and shouting, "I lost the game," and all this other stuff. And so we thought it was driving people away from conventions, the older, more mature attendees. And so we wanted something that would appeal to those people and draw those people in. And so that's really what gave us the idea for Providence Anime Conference. Now, for timing, it was really a process of elimination. Because we had Anime Boston in April and May, PortCon Maine was in June, Kineticon in July, another AnimeCon, which is actually the name of the convention, that was in October, Bathkaretsucon was in November, and then December through March you have winter storms. So we didn't want to have it during winter storms. We didn't want to have it near another convention. So we kind of figured, okay, September. That's really the only time. August and September were the only times in New England without a con. So we figured, we'll aim for September. Some of those cons have moved around since then, and even during our planning they moved around. So we moved it to October. In selecting a location, we picked Rhode Island because it had never held an AnimeCon. And because we had done Anime Boston in a large city that never had an AnimeCon, we figured, okay, we'll do it in Rhode Island. We'll have the same kind of success. They need a con. Plus, the Rhode Island Convention Center is there. And it's also attached to a mall and a hotel, like the Heinz Convention Center in Boston. The room capacities and the function space available in the Rhode Island Convention Center was really good for a mid-sized convention. And so it seemed like an ideal facility for us to use. And the Providence Weston had function space available, but they really only had one large room. So we wouldn't be able to have a main event room and a dealer's room. So we thought, it's not going to work so well, but the convention center is right there next door. We'll go with that. We talked to them. They gave us decent rates. Sure, let's go. For the name, we considered a bunch of things. If there's a convention that's Japanese word con, the Katsu-con, Zenkai-con, and Sentai-con, and it's something that has a Japanese word and then con, Mika-con. The problem is, you say Mika-con, where is it? I mean, it's probably an anime con, given the name, but you know nothing else about it. And then how do you tell the difference between a Kami-con and a Kami-con with one with an E and one with an I? And then it's easy to get all these conventions confused. Kamori-con, is that the one on the East Coast? No, that's Katsu-con. And so we wanted something that was a little more obvious. And so we went with the city name. It worked for Anime Boston because when we came up with the name Anime Boston, Megazone had pointed out that it tells you what it is and where it is. It's anime in Boston. So we wanted to do Providence Anime. And we picked conference instead of convention because I thought it gave more of a mature sounding, more of a professional sounding title to the convention. And we could still abbreviate it conference, convention, but it kind of distances us from the assumptions people might have had from Star Trek cons or sci-fi cons. It kind of, I felt it was more mature, so that's why I went with conference. So Providence Anime Conference. So we thought, okay, this is going to be huge. Everybody's going to love this. Cap the attendance at 2,000, and we figured with the cap, we're going to hit that in pre-registration. So we wouldn't even bother telling people about at-con registration. We'll fill up real fast because Anime Boston's got 10,000 people. If we get a fifth of that coming down to Providence, that'll be great. And because there's a lot of cons, especially professional conventions, that are hundreds of dollars. Even a lot of fan conventions, it started to hit the $100 rate. We figured $75 for the weekend, that's not bad. So we went with a $75 rate for the membership, and then we started it out with $65. But we figured after we hit a certain number of people, I think it was 1,000, then we'd raise the rate. So the first people, hurry up, because if you don't register early, you'll get it. You'll have to pay more. So yeah, we had it start at 65. Actually, it was 250 people. Then it goes up to 70 for the next 250, and so on. That really seemed to confuse people because they expect convention registrations to go up on a certain date, not when it hits a certain point. And so it's different. So Anime Boston 2007 comes, and because it's run by the New England Anime Society, who also runs Anime Boston, we announced it at Anime Boston 2007. I went out on stage, and it's on YouTube, and it's very awkward, where I announced the convention, everybody's excited, and then for some reason I decided to take 5 questions from the audience. I can't remember if I had planned to do this in advance or just decided on the spot to do this. I regret that. Not because I didn't think these questions deserved to be answered, but it was just really awkward that a whole convention full of people at closing ceremonies at Anime Boston with questions about this new thing, and I take 5. And you know how Q&A goes. It's not great. So anyway, we launched the website right after that and put a frequently asked questions up. And so that helped, but there's still a lot of questions about what this will be, and a lot of us weren't really clear on that either. So it had been announced, it's public knowledge now. Some websites wrote articles about this, like, oh, this sounds great, and then we spent time staffing up. So we approached some existing Anime Boston staff to see if they're interested in staffing Providence Anime Conference. We tried not to have people be executives at both conventions because we were afraid of burnout. We thought if somebody's like a director at both cons, they're going to have too much to do. So let's avoid that. But in doing so, that really raised some animosity between the staff, because people saw it as them being snubbed, like, oh, I'm not good enough you don't want me involved with your con? Huh. That's not what we were doing. We were trying to save them the headaches of having to staff 2 cons at once. Like, planning a first-year con is a lot of work, and planning Anime Boston's a lot of work. So in the end, a lot of the Anime Boston staff ended up viewing Providence people as like an elitist clique, and that's not what we wanted. And it was actually a while before we realized that this was happening, so we weren't able to address it for months. Meanwhile, we're doing promotion for Providence at other conventions such as Anime Next, and I think we're at New York Anime Festival. We had a table at First Night Boston. It's part of a family-focused anime program on New Year's Eve in Boston. And I say family-focused because it's important for what I'll mention later. We also advertised in Anime Insider, the magazine for kids. Also, we never actually promoted in Rhode Island. Not once. We would go down and visit the convention center. We would visit the hotel. Nothing else. We didn't visit any comic shops. We didn't visit any college clubs, any other just clubs of anime fans, whatever's there. We never even looked into it. We never did any promotion in Rhode Island. This is before Rhode Island Comic Con too, so that wasn't really an option for us to promote at. So then a year passes. We're still planning the con. It's Anime Boston 2008. This is in April, and our convention's in October. And so we had a dealer's room booth at Anime Boston to take pre-registrations. And we had asked for a panel so that we could talk and hype up Providence Anime Conference and like really promote it. And the panel ended up being scheduled on Sunday at 1 p.m. That's Easter Sunday. The attendance at the panel was, I could count everybody on my fingers. There were probably as many panelists as there were people at the panel. Now, Anime News Network was there, Ain't It Cool News was there at the panel, but not much else. And that was really the first hint that I had that there was a problem. At the time, I wrote it off to, well, it's Easter Sunday, there's not a lot of people at the con, but yeah, it'll still be fine. Well, no. Right after, well, let me back up a bit. Anime Boston 2008, to a lot of people that were there, will remember this as, quote, Line Con. There were, let's say, some issues with registration, and it caused very long at-con registration lines. Because it was Anime Boston's registration system used the same system as Providence, and because Anime Boston's pre-registration went up late because it took time to redo from scratch for some reason, it also delayed Providence pre-registration from going online. And so Providence, because everything was focused on Anime Boston, Providence pre-registration didn't go online until after Anime Boston. So following Anime Boston 2008, the pre-registration for Providence finally launches, and we waited for that flood of pre-registrations. Well, we waited more. Yeah, they didn't come. And that's when we realized we had a really big problem. So the chairman of Providence Anime Conference at the time was also the head of Anime Boston's registration. Remember what I said earlier about trying to avoid being burnt out? It didn't work because he was head of registration for Anime Boston and head of Providence Anime Conference. He got burned out. And because of all the issues and the headache with dealing with Anime Boston registration and the long lines and taking a lot of the blame for what happened there, he resigned from Providence. So now we've got a convention with clearly issues with people registering and no chairperson. So in the meantime, Mara, the vice chair, took over, and eventually Christian, who was head of the exhibits in the dealer's room, he took over as chair and had to kind of figure out how to right this ship, this sinking ship. There was a lot of thought given to try to figure out what to do about the lack of attendance. The guest booking continued, but it changed because instead of looking for academic guests and industry, we really just needed names. We needed names people would recognize that would get butts in seats. And kind of butts in seats became our motto. That's really all we were trying to do. So we went with Chris Ayers was booked because he's a director and a voice actor, so he could talk to both parts of that. So it's kind of 2 for 1, and he runs some great panels. But we wanted more academic names, but we really we knew we couldn't afford them anymore. And so we had to go with bigger names. And we also eliminated all pre-registration price increases. We got rid of that confusing system just to try to get more people in. But we couldn't lower the price because then we'd have to give refunds to people who'd already pre-registered. And if that lower price didn't attract more people, then we're just giving away money. So we decided, okay, we'll just keep the price at $65 and hopefully more people will come. There was the budget for promoting the con, but it didn't really get spent. As I mentioned, we had the ad in Anime Insider, which is aimed at kids. So it's not a great place to have a 21 plus con advertised. There were also plans to get transit ads together, like on buses and trains, a bunch of other PR plans, but our head of PR moved to Alaska to pursue a law degree. And so none of that really got done. And so there's a last minute scramble to get the word out, but it was really too late. And our biggest opportunity would have been promoting at Anime Boston, but we've lost that opportunity. And so then we started looking at, like, should we just cancel this thing? And we realized it was actually less expensive for us to have the convention and have nobody show up than to cancel both the hotel and the convention center contracts, because they were guaranteed so much income. And so if we cancel, we get no money in and have to refund people and have to pay them. But if we have the show, then it would actually cost us less, and we'd have, a few $100, hopefully. And so we had to move forward. One problem was the Hilton or the Holiday Inn hotel next to the convention center undercut the Westin's rates. So a lot of people who came, used the forums, and they found everybody else to say, "Oh yeah, book at the Holiday Inn; it's cheaper," and it was like a lot cheaper. So we weren't filling many Westin rooms at all, which meant we had promised to fill a certain number of rooms. Because we hadn't met that, we were obligated to pay them so much. And so fortunately they were nice and they understood, and they let us spend a certain amount on food and beverage to help meet that attrition clause. We couldn't buy alcohol with it, but food and drink, non-alcoholic drinks, that could all be put towards that. So the convention starts on October 3rd, 2008. And it was actually surprising how much people loved it, except for the dealers. The dealers were not happy. In fact, one dealer was offered a Saturday night hotel room because we had plenty of extra. And so he decided to stay an extra day because we gave him that room. And the halls were really empty at Providence, but the panel rooms and the video rooms were very well attended. We were praised for some of the panel programming we had, which was, not just screaming fans, but stuff that actually makes you think, like really informative panels. The video rooms, normally at cons these days, they're empty because you can watch all this stuff at home. This is even before Crunchyroll. But we were showing stuff like Penguin Memories, which it's not readily available, and people loved. We had Penguin Memories. I think that was a penguin that is suffering from PTSD, and it was really weird. But everybody was like, "Oh my god, I love that! I want to see more of that." For the programming, I was actually director of programming, and one of the things we wanted was we wanted everybody to come together and enjoy each other's company. We didn't want any sort of animosity, so we didn't want any real competition. So we wanted like a costume exhibit. We wanted so we did an exhibition masquerade where everybody's just showing off their stuff, and it's not a contest. But because there's so few people at the con, we had scheduled, 90 minutes or something. we only had like 7 minutes of entry. So myself and some of the other staff made our own skit to enter, to try to just kill time. We did a lip sync of a scene from Dr. Horrible, and I played Captain Hammer. We had another staff member playing Dr. Horrible, somebody else played Penny, and we did the whole freeze ray scene. And so we lip synced that, and it was fun. It was killing time. Because this was a 21 plus con, there were drinks served, and there were bars available in the evening. We had a tiny dance floor, but we really didn't need it to be bigger. So there was some dancing going on, but people could come to the bar, get a drink, and bring it to a panel or a video screening. And so everybody's just walking around, drink in hand, having a good time. And the bartenders did not water them down at all. I mean, I expected, convention center, I'm paying $10 for this drink. They were reasonably priced, and they were potent. So I think they might have felt sorry for us. So we had Extreme. A lot of people played that, and with drink in hand. State of the Industry panel, we had David Williams from ADV and Kevin McKeever from Robotech. We had Chris Beveridge from AnimeCons.com. Now it's the Fandom Post. We had Adam Sheehan from Funimation. At the time he was at Funimation. So the con, the feedback panel, I remember, I was trying to drag out any negative things people had to say about the con. I'm like, everybody just keeps saying, "Oh, I love this. Oh, I love this. Oh, this was great." The only complaints people had were everybody saying there needs to be more people. Like, well, yeah, we know. Bring friends. The other complaint I think we heard, it was something about the manga library. Like, I think somebody was talking in the manga library at one point, and that was it. That was like the main complaint of the con. Like, come on, tell us what's wrong, because we thought maybe we'll do it again. We want to know what we have to fix for next time. What crazy ideas do we have that didn't work? Like, nobody complained about the tiny dance floor. Nobody complained that the masquerade didn't have prizes. Yeah, people just like, this needs to be promoted more. More people need to know about this. Yeah. And then the convention's over, and the staff retires to the dead dog party. And let me tell you, because of this attrition clause, and we had essentially money to burn that we had guaranteed we'd spend at the hotel, we had so much food. You can see here, there's a picture of a salad that was available. There was a menu that was just amazing. It's like their top tier stuff. Soup du jour, there's a Caesar salad, mixed fields greens, and prime rib au jus, chicken piccata, farm-raised sea bass with watercress cream. And this is what we were serving to the staff at the dead dog party. I mean, usually cons would be like, all right, here we got a plate of chicken nuggets. Or it's pizzas for everybody. We've got like the finest meal in town because we had the money, we had to pay. So it's like, all right, we'll get some really good stuff. Every staff member had their own room. Instead of having to squeeze in 4 people to a room, it's like, all right, we got all these rooms. Everybody gets their own. And usually there's the policy like, oh yeah, no non-staff in rooms. We're like, yeah, if you want to bring somebody down, bring them. We just need butts in seats. So, and then the morning after, there was a breakfast buffet for all the staff. Usually dead dog party's over, everybody goes home, that's all. We kept the food coming. So everybody stayed on Sunday night, Monday morning. They went home with full bellies from a huge breakfast buffet. And so the legacy of Providence Anime Conference, we've got so much praise for this con that failed. Peter Cohen from Macworld at the time wrote, if all the people who had asked me about Providence Anime Conference had actually gone to it, it would have been a financial success. Kevin McKeever said, while PAC attendance was low, it was a landmark event as con people still ask me about it and want to know more. Mike Toole says, it was a hell of an idea, I must admit, a 21 plus convention geared towards academic discussion and creative programming. Ain't It Cool News says, there's an extent which thinking and learning about anime manga becomes as much part of the hobby as actually consuming the media. In addressing that, PAC brilliantly succeeded in filling a niche in the convention landscape. Reverse Thieves wrote, I really liked Providence Anime Conference. I don't think it was able to live up to all its ideals, but PAC did a good amount of what it wanted to do in only its first year. I saw no attention whores in the hallways. Most everyone asked intelligent and thoughtful provoking questions at panels. And I mean, it goes on and on. A weekly anime review says it was a great convention. We had a blast. Really hope to see more cons like this in the future. And so everywhere I looked, people were writing praise for this convention, which was a financial disaster. I think it was years that the New England Anime Society had to deal with the financial burden that this event caused. So a lot of people were saying that, like, oh, I would have gone if I knew about it. Yes, if we just promoted. So right now, the Providence Anime Twitter account currently has 1,371 Twitter followers, and it hasn't tweeted since 2009. If every one of those people or bots had actually come to PAC, it would have been a financial success, and it would have kept going. But kind of the legacy lives on in the form of two other conventions that have actually cited PAC as their inspiration in some way. There's Sangawa Project and the relaunch of Ushicon. Sangawa Project, I think, is in Pennsylvania, and Ushicon's in Texas. Also, Anime Boston has since added a 21 plus lounge and academic programming. So some of the stuff we tried has clearly been a success and influenced other events. But yeah, we did learn a lot at Providence. Really, it's hope for the best and plan for the worst when it comes to finances. The biggest mistake we made was making assumptions of the attendance based on an established convention. At that point, Anime Boston had been around for 5 years, and it was in a town where we heavily promoted, and they had been dying for conventions. But, you know, running this later, it didn't work out. We should have planned for something smaller. Also read contracts carefully, especially with room blocks, because we just gleefully assumed we'd have tons of people, it wouldn't be a problem, and we also didn't plan that the Holiday Inn would undercut us on those hotel rates. We wouldn't have filled the room block anyway, but it wouldn't have hurt so much. And don't stress those staffers too thin with 2 cons worth of work, because that bit us too. By not opening the pre-registration before Anime Boston 2008, we didn't realize until too late that there was going to be an attendance problem. If we had known, we could have done more promotion at Anime Boston, and we should have followed through on plans to promote the event and get the attention the event the attention it needed. Could something like this succeed now? I think the internet would help promote. Get that out on Facebook now. But there's too many cons. There's already places people can go. The older attendees, I think it's less of a problem now because there's more and more people going to more and more cons. I don't think it's the issue that it was when we first started, like with screaming fangirls and people misbehaving. There's just more people, and so the vocal youth kind of get drowned out. There's more like-minded individuals. So yeah, I don't know if it would succeed now. I know it would still be a lot of fun. I'd go. I don't know if I'd put it in Providence though. But so that's the story of Providence Anime Conference, how it came to be, and what happened. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have any questions about Providence Anime Conference, I'd be happy to answer them. You can email us at podcast@animecons.tv or leave us a voicemail. If you were at Providence, we would love to hear from you. Both of you. I think the final attendance is around 300 people. So you can call our voicemail line at 762-ADEQUATE. That's 762-233-7828. And yeah, would you go to a con like this? Let's see if it would succeed now. And thanks for watching. See you next time.